So I think it's been very supportive, and it's given us a direction, and it's also given us what we set out to do, which was confirmation that we weren't just doing stuff, that actually we were doing something that was focused, that was coherent, and was actually a drive to an overview. So it gives a lot of confidence that we were on the right lines. And so I think what the coaching agenda does, I think it does two things. I think within the classroom, it means that we take a coaching style approach, and that is, I believe in the potential of the students. Just as a coach, I believe in the potential of the person I'm coaching. And therefore, I trust them that they can and will access the materials. And I create a story and a journey, and my questioning and my prompting and my nudging and my material guides them down in the same way that I would take a coach's interest and pursue that with my questioning. But outside of the classroom, I think then the support that it gives to teachers, that a school gives to teachers, is that we will listen to you, where you're at, where your strengths are, what you would like to do, what you would like to develop. What would you like to do? What does your ideal classroom look like? What will the students be doing in your ideal classroom? And because you've got somebody listening to you and not judging you, that coaching concept of, you know what, this sounds quite exciting, I'm inspired by this myself, I'm inspiring myself, you know what, I'm committed to this. How committed are you? I'm 7 out of 10 committed. What would make it 8 out of 10? This would make it out of 10. Do you know what, I'm going to do this. I think it's important that the school then makes it explicit that it's okay to give things a go, and it's okay to know that perhaps they haven't worked and you can pick up the pieces later, but we want you to experiment. But I think the coaching concept, rather than perhaps coaching as a process of 2 people in a room, but the concept of coaching, that is, I believe in your potential and I will create an environment in which you can fulfil your potential, whether that's the teachers outside the classroom or the teachers creating that environment for their students. I think that's the essence of where coaching is going to drive forward and inspire the learning agenda. And in that sense, I think that the coaching agenda is the one that we pursue.
I think in general with the stuff, people are more ready to kind of step back. If somebody wants to talk about an issue or a class, people aren't straight away in there with an answer. Oh, well, have you tried this? Oh, he's fine for me. You know, like this one that we all love. But they're much more willing to ask questions and to kind of be like about the situation, to kind of understand the context of it. It's quite important to me is the bringing together of different people within the school. And I think what coaching has encouraged is different departments and different faculties to talk about different aspects of learning and teaching with each other, and the way we conducted meetings, that we go across department boundaries, because I think it's encouraged people to be more risk-taking, really, in a sense that you have a coaching culture where it's okay to not know the answer, where it's okay to ask questions, to clarify things.
Okay, so one of the things I would think about is the idea of letting the students think, and also not stopping them after the first response, but allowing them to kind of keep going and developing their ideas. So I know that one of the things that I don't know if we talked about it before, but was almost the idea of when you have things like just options and that they exhaust, and then you go back and look at them, but it's not just all the right answer, that there's lots of answers. And I guess the talk time, so that you'd imagine that you'd hear more from students than you would from teachers, and they may take a more central role in that lesson, and that they'd be listened to, rather than it being kind of like a tick list, but it's responsive to them and what they're saying, and that's how the lesson's developing. And anything else, I guess. I don't know if this is linked with it, but this idea of that the students also thinking about success perhaps a bit more what it is they're actually trying to achieve, what they should look like. I know that some teachers talk about what does an excellent German student look like, what does an outstanding German student look like, but this idea that they actually think about what they're aiming for, and then there's more exploration of the things that are going to get them there.
I think the performance management one is a really powerful one, and I'd say it goes to an awful lot of not just the performance management meeting, but I think it also goes to lesson observation feedback, whereas I think now most people start their feedback with questions such as, was that typical, how did you think it went, what do you think the strengths were? So you see that stride model creeping in, and I think there's an awful lot more of, let's talk about the strengths, let's talk about what went well, where would you like to develop that? And I think that's much less threatening, and I think the impact of that is you have a much more confident staff, and I think you've got people who are more prepared to be quite frank about things that they themselves aren't happy about in their teaching, whereas I think they might, if they felt threatened, they would be more defensive. I think people are more open, and I think that in turn leads to people saying, well, it's okay to think that that's okay. Now, what can I do about it? So I think you get a much more expansive approach, and hopefully, if not now, the next step would be people are more prepared to take risks in the classroom because there's more of an agenda of not being judged, but being supported through. And I think that goes through into the performance management, as, again, where I think a good performance management meeting is what have been the strengths of your year? What have you achieved? Where would you like to go? And essentially, again, that stride model, changed, modified, but essentially being used. I would say the most important thing is the individualised nature of coaching. One of the reasons I brought it when I started off and I gave my pitch to Nick was I wanted something that was positive and that was supportive, something that came back to the staff. The staff at East Barnet School have always worked really, really hard. People put an immense amount of effort. And it was a way of saying to people, oh, this is giving something back to you. We know how much you give to the school. This is what we're going to do. We're going to support you. We're going to empower you. We're going to let you say to us the things that you think are going well, the strengths. We're going to say to you the things that you personally would like to develop, whether you call those weaknesses or just areas that you would like to make even better. But you also get an opportunity to tell us the things that are in place within the school that make life difficult for you, a confidential place where you can say, look, you know, I would like to do this and I'd like to do that. I can't. And very, very focused and very individual, so that people have got a particular place they can go and talk about themselves and their work and where they feel they fit within a picture of where they would like to be, and the institution as a whole, and the faculty development plan, the departmental work, so they can see their place in school. They celebrate what they're already contributing, which with every individual is a lot, and then they set the agenda of what they would like to improve. And because you're sat there in a room, totally confidential, talking to them about their work, it's totally focused on them. The agenda will take whichever format they want.